Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Buzz. I am TJ Walker, joined here at Zaxby's on Fern Valley Road with Nick Roush from Kentucky Sports Radio.
Ho, ho, ho.
Nick, how are you? You look
I'm
festive.
great. Thank
Yeah.
you. 'Tis the season. Merry Christmas to you all and to you, TJ.
Nick, I didn't know you had a tattoo.
Oh, yeah. Brand new ink.
You just wear long sleeve shirts all the time? What have we got here?
Brand new. Oh,
show the people what you got
look
there.
at that.
Wow.
That's beautiful. Beautiful
That is pretty
travel art.
stylish, yeah.
You don't get that everywhere, folks, but only
That's-
on the Sports Buzz.
That's a good-looking tattoo there. Fun stuff here on the
Good-looking
Sports Buzz.
tattoo.
Together we host a radio show. It is called Kentucky Roll Call.
Can't see that tattoo on the radio.
No, unfortunately, you sure can't. But that is 7 to 9 Monday through Friday on Big X Sports Radio. But for the next 30 minutes, you've got us here talking sports. Sadly, you got to look at us. Again, one thing you don't have to do on the radio show. Nick, there was a basketball game yesterday.
A basketball game.
You look pumped up about it.
No football, though. It was
Nope.
kind of weird.
Army-Navy.
Army-Navy, which was entertaining for a half before kind of Malcolm Perry ran away with it for the midshipmen. And I'm not used to hearing the intercom.
I've never heard the intercom
didn't
here
know they
every
had
time
the
we've done it.
intercom.
It looks
Do you,
like
do you think they have the old school microphone that pulls down?
for a cop.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a cop.
That'd be
right,
fun
right.
if they did that. But the Cats played a basketball game yesterday.
The Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech.
And that was UK's first game at Rupp Arena this year against a Power 5 opponent. And not the most beautiful game of basketball that's ever been played,
no.
but a double-digit win. Game was never really in doubt. I think Georgia Tech got it to 6 in the second half, maybe got it to 4 in the second half, where
Yeah.
things were a little dicey. Kentucky looked like the better team throughout. But again, not another performance that really has your jaw dropping.
No.
But still good enough to make you think maybe they're just bored. They want to be pushed a little bit more. But they hold Georgia Tech to 53 points. The defense, for the most part,
Defense
was
played
solid.
well,
And still some of the same issues offensively. What were some of your takeaways?
Well, I mean, I think it's if you can win a basketball game against an ACC opponent and Tyrese Maxey is going OFA and EJ Montgomery OFA, not hitting any shots from the field, that's pretty good that you're being able to generate points from other points across the floor. So I'm not overly concerned by any means, but they'll get their shooting ways back, right?
Let's talk about EJ Montgomery. He, like you said, no points. He
No.
never really looked comfortable in that game. Does that concern you? Does that worry you? Should Kentucky fans say, you know what, this kid maybe isn't going to have it? We didn't see it last year, and so far maybe we've seen a flash or two, but nothing too serious.
It's been mixed results so far with EJ Montgomery. The reason why I am concerned, though, is because all of his best games so far have been against subpar opponents, and we wondered going into this stretch in December where you're playing a bunch of Power 5 teams. They got Utah, Ohio State, and Louisville right around the corner. You wondered, was it just the opponents the reason why he was playing well, or has he actually taken a step? And I think yesterday it kind of showed once you get another bigger physical guy in, that Banks guy mixing it up, he kind of struggled with it. Now, I could also blame it against that weird defense.
Yeah, that was Georgia Tech. That game for Kentucky isn't going to do too much for them because you're not going to see too many teams play a defense like that. I wonder if Calipari told Pastner, like, hey, thanks for nothing.
Yeah.
Not even a good tune-up game for us. But it was, I guess, something a little different, having to kind of improvise as you go. Let me tell you, I'm not worried at all about EJ Montgomery
Really?
based on yesterday's game.
Really? Okay.
Under the premise that he's not a great player, which I think most people would probably agree with that. EJ Montgomery right now is not a great player. He got those 2 fouls early on and sat most of the first half, and I think that got him in a funk, and he was never really able to get it going. We see that all the time across college basketball, but especially at Kentucky. You don't see it with the best of the best.
Yeah.
But EJ's not one of the best of the best, and that's okay. So I don't really have an issue with it, because that stuff, when you have to go sit on the bench, and I hate when coaches do that, just because you get 2 fouls doesn't mean you're guaranteed to pick up a third one. And you know what? If you pick up a third one, then go to the bench and let them know in the second half that you've got no wiggle room to really be too aggressive. I have an issue with that. However, we see that happen, though.
To your point, though, about him not being a great player, I think you can trust a great player with 2 fouls in the
Correct.
first half.
That's
but
a
I don't
good
know
point.
if you can with EJ.
Yeah.
If your point that he's just a good player, I thought EJ could be a great player this year. I really did. I thought he could be the second best player on the team just because of his ability to face up. But I don't know if we're going to get that from him at all this year.
Yeah, and I don't know. Kentucky could still win a championship without EJ Montgomery being great, but he is not past the if Anthony Davis got 2 fouls and had to sit the first half, you knew the second he came back in, he wasn't going to skip a beat.
Right.
But however, we've seen some other guys, Scalabissiere, when he would pick up 2 fouls, or if he would go out there and miss his first 3 shots, you could almost guarantee that, like, all right, not a Scal game,
Right.
just kind of forget about him. EJ's more, unfortunately, in the latter of that mold than the former. However,
However,
Junior Nick Richards continues to play well.
yeah.
He seems like a completely different player than a year
I
ago.
mean, he's catching lobs.
Yeah.
I mean, just doing the basics.
It's like he found out how to work these puppies.
Maybe they're using Stickum?
That could be a little
Well, a
stick 'em.
little Johnson
I don't know how
action?
that would work with getting the ball off your hands.
Well, you know, we can figure
Yeah,
that out
that's
later.
that's future Nick Richards problems after he
Exactly.
catches the ball. However, Nick, you know who I'm most excited about? Keon Brooks is starting to break out of his shell.
Yes.
That kid, if you're Nate Sestina and he's still injured and it looks like maybe he can come back against Ohio State, maybe come back against Louisville, we still don't know the timetable there for Nate Sestina, but if you're Nate Sestina, you're EJ Montgomery, and even if you're Nick Richards, watch out for your minutes because Keon Brooks, the kid from Indiana, is starting to kind of wake up a little bit. Nobody really has his athleticism. Nobody really has his length and how he can kind of use that frame of his. Watch out come March. I don't think he'll be Kentucky's best player in March. I think there's a scenario where he could be Kentucky's most important player in terms of shot blocking, rebounding, scoring. How smooth is that jumper from Keon? It
Oh, yeah,
looks so
especially in that
comfortable.
mid-range.
Yeah.
Like Darius Miller and Patrick Patterson, they were really good kind of operating in the paint
Like
like
around
that.
the elbow
oh,
in
man.
that area.
And that's where,
Yeah.
those are the kind of buckets, too, that like defenses just forget. Like, oh, wait, there's a guy right there. We left him alone. So I'm encouraged by that. My question to you, is there any cause for concern that it wasn't a big guy who led the team in rebounds yesterday? Ashton Hagans had 7, and I believe Emmanuel Quickly also had 7.
Yeah, a little bit, but I guess the spin zone here is you want guards that can rebound because that. I mean, this is quite the spin zone here. But every team has their leading rebounders are their bigs. Not every team has good guard rebounders. No, and I do think there's some truth to that. Like, it is good for Kentucky that your guards are willing to go after it because theoretically your bigs are too, and sometimes it works for them, sometimes it doesn't.
right.
But if your guards are doing that, that can set you apart from some of the other guys. But yeah, again, it was a stinker for EJ, so almost throw that one out. Nick can't lead the team in rebounds every game, although he does statistically.
Right.
And then, you know, no Nate. So
Right,
it, it was almost destined to be some guards. How about Khalil Whitney only playing 7 minutes? Not to change gears.
Yeah, I don't really know where that was, but Whitney, you never know what you're going to get with him.
I'm starting to get concerned that he's getting squeezed out a little bit.
Well, and it could be because of Keon Brooks, because I feel like they
is,
both
yeah.
do a lot of the same things. But right now, Keon's just playing better. He's got a lot more energy, and I'm fine with that. You know, to each their own. The one thing that I was really excited about, though, TJ, in this game that really got me excited,
the ice cream.
Ashton Hagans.
Oh.
That dude is playing on a completely different level, and I wondered, you know, who's going to be the best player on this team? Who's going to be the alpha? You hoped it would be Ashton, but during crunch time in the NCAA tournament last year, he kind of floundered. He really didn't bring it when the Cats needed him most, and I think that's why they ended up falling to Auburn, because
Sure.
Bryce Brown just took him to town. Ashton Hagans is playing like the best point guard in America. Cal said it after the UAB game a couple weeks back. Find me a better point guard in college basketball right now. And right now, I don't know if I'm taking anybody else besides
Well,
Ashton Hagans.
obviously, you take Cole Anthony.
Small Anthony.
You probably would take Anthony Edwards, although that one maybe. I'm a huge Cole Anthony guy, the point guard at UNC. He is amazing. If you haven't gotten a chance to see him, UNC kind of stinks.
Yeah.
And he is really their only great player, maybe really only their only good player. So they're going to struggle a little bit, but he's a blast to watch. But from a defensive standpoint, I love it. And how about, and Tyrese Maxey did a great job defensively yesterday, too.
Oh,
But
all
Bubba
over
Barnum
us.
comes in, tears up Kentucky playing for VMI, 35 points?
Yeah,
like
10
8
threes, 10 threes, yeah.
Only hits 2 yesterday, 10 points, and then
He
the
hit
leading
his first
scorer-
2 though, and I was a
you
little
started to
worried.
think that I was the same way.
Yeah.
And then Bubba, and then DeVoe fella, who's their leading scorer, I think averaging like 19 points a game or something.
Shooting 50% from the field.
Yeah, he finishes with what, 5? So
Nothing,
the defense, as much as the offense was a little touch and go there for a little bit, Ashton Hagans was great offensively, but he did it on both ends of the floor, unlike
7
most of the other
assists,
people.
too.
Yeah, and he had a few turnovers, but that's okay. That defense was a little strange.
We'll take it.
He was being aggressive, though, and against the 1-3-1, you've got to be aggressive. Good stuff from the Cats. Again, not the most eye-popping scoreline, only beating Georgia Tech by 14. However, now things start to get fun. They head out to Vegas. We'll come back. We'll talk about that here on the Sports Buzz.